I'm out walking over here, and this house wasn't burned down the other day, and this whole wooden house is pretty badly damaged, and it even burnt the car out front. I don't know what happened first. Did the car go up in flames, or did the house burn down, or what? But pretty big mess, I would say. And looking at this makes me think of what's going on in the US and in other countries right now with this whole coronavirus stuff. I don't know what the governments know that they're not telling us, but it seems to me that, I don't know, the effects of this thing aren't as bad as other flus we've had, and yet they're taking really extreme measures to contain it and stop it. Now, I know it definitely has a higher R0 than the flu, meaning how many people each infected person can infect is way higher than the regular flu. But it seems to me at this point that the US and these other countries are like that burnt house over there, where they got a wooden house and they find a few termites, and just because of that they burn down the whole house to kill the termites. That's what it seems like. Talking to my friend in Italy, and the whole country is shut down. They can't even go out. My friend's friend suggested to him to get a dog so that he's allowed to go out on the street to walk his dog. Otherwise, you can get fined and arrested and jailed and all kinds of stuff. And if you are in an important industry like food or something like that, you can get a letter from your job that allows you to be out on the street, as long as you're going somewhere between where you live and where you work. And if you're going to the supermarket, it kind of better be on the way, either on the way to your house or on the way to your job, something like that. So it's really kind of like martial law, or they're locked down like self-jailing themselves. And for what? I know, what is it, 1,000 people have died or 2,000 people have died in Italy. I know that's a lot, especially if it's one of your loved ones and stuff. But at the same time, during regular flu season, you don't see the news all over the place telling you how many people are dying every day from the flu. So I don't know what to think of it. I don't know what to make of it. Is there more they're not telling us? I'm not sure. But how does this affect the stock market? Oh boy, it affects it a lot, obviously. So yesterday the S&P 500 was just a hair away from being in a bear market, down 20%. And today it made it up in spades and blew right past that by dropping just about 10%. And the market was down about 2,000 points during the day, the Dow. And the Fed came out and said that they're going to make more repo money available, which is a complicated thing, but basically they said they were going to make $1 trillion worth of repurchase agreements available. And not a lot of people took them up on that action, and the market didn't like that reaction either. Yeah, so the Fed made all this money available, and the market rallied about 1,000 points for a little while, And I guess people figured out that money doesn't really solve the problem of people being locked in their houses and the economy coming to a halt. So the market resumed its downward trend and even made new lows at the close of the day. So now we're down about 30% off the highs in the S&P. So what does that mean? Should you be buying? Should you be looking to buy? Well, to me the answer is not yet. And like I said in other videos, we're not even below where we were at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, when the market, had a pretty good dive there. So we're not even at those levels, and this is way much different in terms of the effect that it's going to have on companies and people and the economy and the country and stocks and everything going forward. The knock-on effects of planes not flying, hotels not being open, restaurants not being open, people not paying their mortgages, their car payments, and when it gets to the point where the people that are sitting home with no job and they only live paycheck to paycheck and only have a week's worth of money maybe, and maybe some credit cards they could run up, when they can no longer buy food with that, that's going to be a huge problem, because that's when chaos really starts. So let's hope it doesn't get to that level. Another thing is the so-called safe haven assets, and look what happened to them. And that's kind of scary, because I was in some very safe, so to speak, bond ETFs like the Vanguard short-term corporate and government bonds, 1 to 3 years. It's basically almost like a money market account, pretty much, because it's short-term. But those things have been going up lately with lowering interest rates. But I noticed the other day that normally they go up when the market is down a lot, and the other day the market was down over 1,000 and the corporate short-term ETF was actually down and by a little bit, but still, that to me, that was like, what's going on here? So I got rid of that, and a day or two later the short-term government 1 to 3 year VGSH was also either flat on the day or down a penny or two. It's like $69 a share. It was down a few pennies or something, and the market was down like, I don't know, 1,000, 1,200 or something like that. So I don't know why, but it seems interest rates are actually creeping up because of the market going down. Meaning, is this the bond bubble breaking here? I don't know. But when so-called safe assets like short-term treasuries or short-term corporate bonds are not acting well, or not acting like they normally act, something is up. And if you want to look at other safe haven assets, even gold got hit today, which a lot of conspiracy people will say that it's the bankers trying to knock it down to keep people from buying up gold in a time like this, to show them that it's not a safe haven asset. But they did that about a week ago. I don't know who did it, but they smacked it down pretty hard a week ago, and it came back. Today it's down a good amount. I think it was 1560 or something like that. But anyway, gold is still a real asset and a real safe haven. Now on to Bitcoin, which is a pretend asset and a pretend safe haven, and it is whatever the small amount of people who control it and market it as whatever they think will get people in the door to buy Bitcoin. You know, one day they market it as a currency, next day they market it as a payment system like Visa, the next day they market it as a safe haven asset, but it's not really any of those, and it doesn't do any of those things very well. And that thing was down a good 20% today or something like that. So it's funny when Bitcoin goes down, all the supporters of it come out in really full force and, you know, really shout anybody down that tries to point out that Bitcoin is not based on anything and it's not worth anything and doesn't do anything good that it's supposed to do anyway. I guess it's a little too close to home for them, or they're trying to keep their thing going. But yeah, I don't know what to say about this, but to me, I don't think we've seen the worst of it. And like I said in the other video, wait till earnings come out for these companies. After earnings season, not only are we going to see that earnings have gone down significantly for a lot of these companies, but their forward guidance is also going to be significantly down. So those two things are really going to make a lot of people recalculate what they think this market is worth, and they're gonna not be in the groupthink that they've been in for the last whatever number of years during this bull market. There's going to be a whole bunch of different ideas of what somebody should pay for the S&P 500, or oil companies, or airline companies, or hotel companies, or whatever. And like I said, there's too many moving parts now. It's not just, you know, our sales are down 5%, but we're going to recover because, you know, I don't know, it was a cold spring or something like that. It's going to be like, you know, our sales are down 40%, and we have no idea when they're going to pick up, or something along those lines. So how do you value that? Because right now everybody's valuing the S&P. They might even say it's cheap right now because it's, you know, let's say it's a 15 or 17 right now, something like that. But that's based on the trailing 12 months earnings for the S&P, meaning last year's earnings before any of this stuff happened. So what's the forward earnings going to be? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But what I would recommend is, I would say that picking individual stocks right now, trying to say that, you know, I don't know, Delta Airlines is going to bounce and I think it's bottomed out and all this stuff. A lot of these companies are going to need bailouts. So you don't really know what's going to happen to any individual stock itself. So I would say wait till maximum fear and maybe a few thousand more points on the Dow or something for some real capitulation and real fear. I mean, the VIX is already up in the 70s or something like that, so fear is already really high. But the price level, like I said, is still not even to beginning of 2019. So there's going to be a time to buy, hopefully. And when that time comes, I would try to probably scale in to just some big broad indexes like the S&P 500. If you want to be a little more risky, maybe the NASDAQ, maybe a small cap index like the Russell 2000, something like that, and hold on for a longer term view when there's some light at the end of the tunnel that, you know, that infections are decreasing or something along those lines, or at least in South Korea or Italy or something like that, some kind of good news, because the market looks like 6 months to a year ahead. So once they see that small light at the end of the tunnel, then everybody's behavior changes. But you know, the old buy the dip every time the market goes down 5%, doing that now has been proven to be a disaster for a lot of people who that's all they knew how to make money, because it always worked that way. So keep your powder dry, and wait till you hear your friends telling you that they finally sold everything in their 401ks and that the market's going to zero, and we're going to be in the Great Depression and all that stuff. When there's maximum pessimism, that's probably the time to start buying. So keep that in mind, and don't be eager to try to chase all these bounces. So that's my video on the stock market drop. And if you like this video, leave me a thumbs up. Give me a comment where you think the bottom is on the S&P. Let me know where you think the bottom is on the whole coronavirus stuff. Are we going to be shutting down cities in the US or not? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.